Enforcement of compliance to international regulations has not spared any continent, and this has helped improve the safety of air navigation over the African sky considerably. While air transport growth facilitates economic and social well-being, and managed growth can also lead to increased safety risks, in particular where the growth outpaces the regulatory and infrastructure developments needed to support it. Safety oversight audits by ICAO and those for QMS and competence assessment by service providers has greatly improved and has become a very normal practice nowadays. This has improved adherence to international regulation and improved safety over the continent. Today's aviation system comprises many high-technology aircraft operating fast and high and predominantly safely to all corners of the globe. Air travel is no longer a special occasion. It is a normal and affordable mode of transport for many, including Africans. The growth is witnessed in all continents, including Africa, where the current traffic volume over African sky is only 3% of the global volume. However, it is growing rapidly and expected to double in the next 10 years. This is a challenge due to insufficient infrastructure. That is correct, and efforts are underway to invite African airlines to participate. Only last month there was a meeting in Nairobi which brought about main stakeholders to discuss the importance of joining the EMDA program in Africa and promote the implementation of AMDA within the continent so as to address data sparse and data deficiency within the continent. This meeting was held in Nairobi. The meeting received a very positive response from all airlines that attended. With appropriate software, upper air data from AMDA is a lot cheaper than radiosonde. You also tend to get upper air data more frequently and from far more locations. However, AMDA data is still lacking humidity data, so it cannot be considered a full replacement of the radiosondes. The two systems should be developed as complementary. WMO started assisting African countries in the implementation of QMS way back in 2008. And in fact, the first pilot project was done in a third world country in Africa, in Tanzania. And it was to demonstrate that it is possible, even if it is a small service. Ever since, Tanzania has been assisting other countries near and far on QMS documentation, competence assessments, and training. So far, out of the 54 members of WMO in Africa, 14 countries and 17 members of ASECNA as a service provider have certified QMS, making a total of 31 out of 54, which is 57% of the countries in the region are QMS certified. Compared to other WMO regions, Africa is number 2, where number 1 is Region 6, Europe, with 94%, and then Southwest Pacific, 52%, Region 2, Asia, 50%, Region 3, South America, 50%, and Region 4, North and Central America and the Caribbean, which is at 36%. Globally, national meteorological services are facing decreasing budgets, increasing equipment costs, and requirements from users for new types of products and services. There is also a potential for open competition with commercial providers for the provision of aviation weather products and services. Let me give you an example of a consortium of 7 national meteorological services in Northern Europe, comprising of Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Norway, and Sweden, which have decided to further develop their existing cooperation in many fronts to set up a regional aviation weather service. One of their key development areas in the next 4 years include product harmonization, joint production strategy, joint competence assessment framework, common forecast, that is tough verification system, common quality management principles, joint aviation weather service provision, and regional national hazards warning centers. Africa will need to emulate this strategy if it is to remain relevant. Regional cost recovery is going to benefit individual countries better than the situation is at the moment. The costs recovered will be dispersed to the participating countries pro rata. The One Sky concept recognizes the need for seamless air navigation across national airspace borders. The main points here are harmonization of national regulations and interoperability of systems, which would bring efficiency and ensure safety of operation. The call for regionalization is based exactly on these needs of the air transport industry and are also based on the advances of technology that enables multinational provision of services. Specifically for Met services, regionalization is envisaged in the provision of SIGMET information through development of a new system of regional hazardous weather advisory centers. This system will be similar to already existing regional services like volcanic ash advisories and the tropical cyclone advisories. It should also be said that the regionalization will bring efficiency and will address environmental issues related to aviation. The regional service provision will always be based on bilateral and multilateral agreements. Thus, the sovereignty of states will not be infringed as a basic foundation principle of WMO and the ICAO conventions. Africa is a very good example of a regional service provision model through ASECNA, and it is visible that the MET services provided by ASECNA member countries improved significantly. Recently, ASECNA, comprising of 17 countries, achieved a collective ISO 9000-2008 certification for all MET service providers in the area, which is a very welcomed development. Of course, there are concerns about cost recovery when we talk about regionalization, but the truth is that problems with cost recovery exist even without regionalization. The conjoint ICAO-WMO MET divisional meeting last year put priority on the task of developing further provisions and guidance on the governance and cost recovery for the case of multinational service provision. The Commission for Aeronautical Meteorology and the ICAO MET panel are working on this task, following the basic principle of fair, equitable, and transparent cost recovery mechanisms. One very crucial thing is that the success of the cost recovery is highly dependent on the approval by national government, and this is where the National Meteorological Services should put their focus. The issue of training personnel serving international air navigation is a responsibility of each member state. However, WMO has been complementing these efforts by providing fellowships, offering specialized training courses, and workshops. Only last week, WMO provided support in a SADC SIGMET training workshop in Bambane, Swaziland. WMO has also been providing guidance material, usually containing best practices, to assist members in their service provision.